All right, here's a quick tutorial of my recommendation for using the sample pack once you've downloaded it in Ableton Live. So once you've put your pack in a folder, go ahead and add folder over on the left-hand side, find your pack, and then it'll show up in your places. Go to the folder, let's start with loops. And something cool about Ableton is it will generally warp these tracks for you. But if it doesn't, for whatever reason, I've written tempos on each loop. So if we find something we like, that's kind of cool. Let's use that. It says the tempo is 120. We're already there, so it's going to work perfect. But if we did, this one says 126, we can just change our track to 126, drop it in, and that's going to work perfectly. So we can either use this and hit this loop button up at the top, or hit Command L, and that's going to loop. You can also click Command D, and it'll duplicate next to it. So I really like to use Ableton. It's what I built all these samples in. Any DAW is great, but there's a lot of fun things you can do within Ableton. The warp features I like a little bit more than Logic's flex time. But let's take this, and in this warp window, we're going to switch it to repitch. Now as we change the tempo, it's going to change the pitch as well. Let's go back to the original 126. If we open this and go to Complex Pro, it'll keep the same pitch as we change the tempo. And it does a really good job of maintaining the transients. If we go to just beats and preserve transients, it also does a good job, but it's not perfect, especially when you slow it down. All right, so if we wanted to add something to that, some of these kits don't have kick, those do, but here's a deep house hat. We can add that. Now, mine are already warped, so even though this one was recorded at 120, at 126, it's automatically gonna match to an 8-bar phrase. Right, so that's our next loop. Let's just deal with that. Once this construction loop, just the hi-hat, is loaded in, again, we can change to repitch in our warp window and find our desired tempo. I'm going to take it back to its original tempo, 120. So once you've loaded in a loop, you can actually build kits around that. And that's the next thing I'm going to show you. So create a MIDI track. And you're going to go to drums, and load in an empty drum rack. Now, I really like Ableton's drum designer. It maps to pads or MIDI keyboards. So once you're in, we can add some kicks. Let's do that one. You can select multiple, and it's going to load them in sequentially. And so now those are mapped to our MIDI keyboard or beat pad. Right? Or up here. Let's go to some rim clicks. That one's good. Let's just add a couple in a row. Maybe some snares. Now those are all mapped to our MIDI keyboard. Now we can record those as MIDI along with our hi-hat loop. So let's do that. Let's do a 1-bar count in and enable the metronome. Now we have a loop. Another thing I just didn't activate, but I want to let Ableton users know, this plus sign next to the record button up at the top. That's what you want to click if you want to layer multiple loops on top of each other. Whereas what I just did overwrote in the repeat. We got our MIDI drums on their own right here. That's what I just played in. And together. Now you can also create a specific kit. And this is what I really like about the way I recorded the hi-hats and the cymbals, is there's different articulations and expressions. And if we load a bunch of those in, we can add a separate hi-hat track. So let's go to the Z14 hi-hats, and gotta create a drum track. Go back to my sample pack. I'm gonna load all of these in. They're gonna map automatically. And here we go. All right. So I'm gonna mute my loop that was going, and now we just got the kick and click. Now we'll play along with this. Right? Let's record that. Oops. I just recorded into the drum track. And by the way, this top track is just my voiceover input, so ignore that. Here we go. So I'm a little sloppy. I'm just gonna do a quick quantize of this. There's a lot of extra random notes. Select all, hit Command. Actually, let's do Shift Command U. That's gonna bring a quantize window, and you can decide how much you quantize. If you're adjusting the end of the note, that's not gonna matter too much. We'll do 16. Now it's quantized. Cool. Now we're adding our hat. Right. Sloppy, but again, you can select all and quantize. I do want to be very clear. When I'm making a track, will rarely quantize everything. I usually try to play it into my MIDI keyboard or beat pad, or record it live and let that humanity seep through. But if you're in a rush, or if you're not good at finger drumming, you can always quantize whatever you've recorded. There we go. Feels a little bit stale to the grid to me, but that's okay. All right. Now I want to show you what I like to do if I'm not layering grooves. I really like to build a kit and play it in with finger drums. So I'm going to create a new kit, new MIDI track, just Shift Command T, mute my other tracks. And once we're in there, we got to create a drum rack, go to our sample pack. Let's just find some kicks. Cool. We'll just use this one kick for now. Let's do a snare. That's cool. That's fine. Let's get a rim click. And some hi-hats. Let's do some tambourine hi-hats. All right, now these are all mapped. Cool, and let's play that in. I'm gonna lower the tempo. Let's do 96. Press record. Cool, there we go. All right, we got a little loop. We can go in, we can edit that, or we can leave it as is. And just to demonstrate what changing the tempo does, now our grooves from before. Our house groove, which we had at repitch, lowered. If we switch that to Complex Pro, now it's the original pitch. And let's solo, or just activate the track we just recorded. Hopefully some of this helped. It's not a full detailed tutorial. I'm gonna break down a lot of the techniques I use in Ableton and do a separate series, but just to show you how to use this kit initially, hopefully this helps. And if you use Logic, I already made a tutorial. You can find that on my Instagram TV. And shoot me a DM if there's another DAW that you use that you wanna know how to use my samples within. Hopefully this helps. Have fun creating, and I'll see you soon.